I want to see your compassion. I want to see your empathy. I want to see how that impacted you, not because you got a gift, but because that made you feel good to take care of someone else and that you want more of that. PS or BS? That's what we're going to talk about today. My name is Dr. Ryan Gray, founder of Medical School Headquarters and Mapped. And today we're going to talk about some essays. PS or BS is our free content series where we edit the essays that you submit and we give our feedback. Let's just say, hopefully they're good, but if they're not, we will tell you what we think. Again, this is our opinion. This is my opinion only. This student may have submitted to their pre-health advisor and the pre-health advisor may have loved it. The student may have shown an admissions committee member and they might have loved it. So I'm going to go through, I'm going to give you my opinions. I'm going to tell you why, and we'll go from there. Let's go ahead and jump in. As always, the caveat, I have not read this yet. So this is my first time looking at this. This is a real live reaction. So let's go ahead and jump in and take a look. All right, so we're going to start here at the top and see what we can see. So just a quick note here, right? The student leaving us a note, which you don't have that opportunity when you are submitting your essay, right? You don't have the opportunity to give context to your personal statement. But that's not true. Your other impactful experience essay is the context potentially for your personal statement, for your grades, for your activity section. So use that well. So we'll take a look at what this student says here. I have a background in occupational therapy, wanted to convince the reader. I don't that word, convince the reader that I have a solid reasoning behind why I left OT to pursue medicine. All right, so we get through this first paragraph. It's long, and I'm a little confused at the beginning. I don't really know what's going on. We have the cultural stuff, right? We have the cultural stuff here with the kind of stereotypical pressure from immigrant parents and the pressure to achieve this high expectation. The student doesn't ever say, my dad expected me to become a physician. And so I'm a little confused there. And then it took me a second to understand when we get down here, the gestures of gratitude from my dad's patients. And I had to read that a couple times to go, oh, the dad's a doctor. I'm assuming because we're talking about patients here. And there's just not enough straightforwardness here. Just tell me what you need me to know, because I'm a little confused here with what's going on. I have high expectations from parents. I have, oh, dad's apparently a doctor and gets a lot of gratitude from patients. And the discussion then transitioning into talking about the tokens of appreciation, again, gestures of gratitude, and the emblematic of the relationships my father nurtured as a physician. I don't understand yet what this means about you and what you want and why this is potentially pushing you towards a career in medicine. And actually, you don't say it pushed you towards a career in medicine. It pushed you towards a career in occupational therapy, which I still don't know why you're interested in occupational therapy versus medicine. So there's a lot missing here. There's obviously a good backstory with the father being a physician. I don't know if I would get into the cultural stuff, right? I think the cultural stereotype of kind of immigrant parents, the Asian immigrant parents pushing towards high expectations of their kids, I think that's well known enough that you don't have to dive into that. You don't want to give the reader any sort of evidence that you're doing this because of the expectations of your parents. And that's what you start out with. So just be careful with that when you're writing your essay. As we keep going, though, we talk about my original career ambition of becoming an occupational therapist. Why? You get into it here, centered around the empathetic care that you would provide. So you're saying you would become an occupational therapist to provide empathetic care, but I don't know why you wanted to be an occupational therapist. You just said you want to provide empathetic care. So the why is missing here. You're jumping straight for how you want to practice as an occupational therapist without actually helping me understand what led you to occupational therapy to begin with. Did you have some exposure to an occupational therapist? How did you understand that this world of occupational therapy was out there? That is missing from this essay. So we need to clear that up as straightforward as possible. I think we have strayed to creativity with our essays, and I need to understand why sooner, faster, and easier. So as I skim these, it's much easier to get to. And last point here, the majority of this opening paragraph is focused on the gratitude, appreciation. I very much warn students to stay away from this kind of language. For me, I don't want to feel like you're entering medicine so that you can be thanked, so that patients will have gratitude towards you, so that you can feel appreciated. Those are all warm and fuzzy things that, yes, some physicians, if not all physicians, get some sort of gratitude from their patients, some sort of appreciation from their patients. But if that is your main driving force, you are going to, in my opinion, have a miserable career, because if that is what sustains you, that is not enough to sustain you through this crazy journey of being a physician, through medical school, through residency, through fellowship, through dealing with the insurance companies and all of that stuff. Having that be your driving force, for me, is a warning sign for students. So I would try to stay away from the gratitude, stay away from the appreciation, and focus on the impact that you saw potentially your father having, the impact that you want to have on patients, not just that they feel gratitude towards you. All right, and just to zoom in here and show what I wrote for this student, again, mostly just a recap of what I told you all. Moving on to paragraph 2. All right, so we have what I call a pivot point here, where this person is writing about being in another healthcare field, and then exploring this kind of internal dialogue of, uh-oh, I'm in the wrong field. Now, this is long. It doesn't need to be this long for a pivot point. This is all about a patient and really nothing about the student, other than I left disappointed by the limitations of my scope of practice. Now, again, without understanding why this person went into occupational therapy to begin with, I don't have a barometer to judge that statement. I don't know what you wanted your scope of practice to be, to go, well, yeah, duh, like OTs don't have a kind of full scope of practice like a physician does, right? They obviously have a full scope of practice in their OT world, which is pretty large, but they're not out there taking care of pancreatic cancer patients to the full extent of medical technology and medicine and all that stuff. And so I don't really understand where the comment is coming from, because going back up to that opening paragraph, I don't really know why they wanted to be an OT to begin with. And so this is a long pivot point statement to say, hey, I was an OT. I actually don't want to be an OT because I can't do enough to impact these patients. I would love to see why and how this person is impacting patients, but still wants to do more based on the limitations of their current licensure and degree and training and stuff. Because ultimately, all they're saying is, hey, I want to possess a deep fund of knowledge. You can get a deep fund of knowledge without going and being a physician. And they do say use it as a catalyst for change. Again, kind of cliche language. I would stay away from that sort of buzzwordy type language. But again, this is long, and it I'm left wanting more and understanding more of what were you doing as an OT. Obviously, this one specific patient is showing you, hey, I want to do more. But I still don't understand what you envision for more, right? If you would have seen or read notes or something about what the physicians were doing for this patient, you were like, that's what I want to be doing. That would help me understand what you saw, what you felt, and what you understood about what more was out there outside of just saying, hey, we had to discontinue OT services for this patient. All right, again, what I wrote for this specific paragraph. Here we go into the next paragraph. All right. So this paragraph is a perfect example of why I don't recommend shadowing experiences in a personal statement. Number one, besides that point, we're right back to gestures of appreciation, gestures of gratitude. So let's get rid of that theme because we're reinforcing this idea that your OT patients weren't giving you enough gifts. It's like, I don't want to be an OT. I don't get enough gifts. I don't get enough gratitude. So let's stay away from that. But to my point of why I don't recommend shadowing as a experience here is because this is all about Dr. Kim. This is about Dr. Kim's interaction with the patient. This is all about Dr. Kim's holding hand and Dr. Kim's expertise and Dr. Kim's compassion. And oh, by the way, I want to be like Dr. Kim. This is a personal statement to show who you are and why you want to be a physician, not to show that you really like Dr. Kim and how they practiced medicine. So for me, shadowing just doesn't work in a personal statement because there's no impact here for me to see who you are as a student in these situations. I want to see your compassion. I want to see your empathy. I want to see how that impacted you, not because you got a gift, but because that made you feel good to take care of someone else and that you want more of that. And there's what I wrote for this one. Next paragraph. All right, so we get to this next paragraph, and I'm left a little confused here. I'm not really sure what's going on. I'm not really sure what the goal of this paragraph is. I aim to fuse my passion for scientific study of the body, right? So we have that cliche, I like science, with my value of nurturing the mind and addressing environmental barriers. This kind of comes out of left field. I'm not really sure what's going on here. Environmental barriers? Do we really mean environmental or do we mean something else? I'm not really sure what's going on here. And we talk about OT mental health. I found joy in alleviating stress for clients and crafting personalized care plan. Now we're right back into, hey, I really liked my job as an OT. So I'm back to why are you becoming a physician? During my involvement in a self-management workshop for justice involved individuals with type 2 diabetes and hypertension. This is a very specific workshop. This is a workshop for justice involved individuals if you have type 2 diabetes and hypertension. I'm not really sure what's going on here with why I'm learning about Sue. You're talking about collaborating over the weeks. This is very much like a social work type experience here. You're talking about being a physician. You don't have that impact here. You're saying, hey, there was a lot I still don't understand in interacting with this patient or with this person. This isn't even a patient here. This is from a workshop. I'm not sure what being a physician is going to allow you to do that you're telling me here. I realize that despite my efforts to understand and address her barriers, certain aspects remained unknowable. Being a physician, I don't think is going to help you there either. So I'm not sure what you're trying to tell the reader here. This experience underscored the importance of cultural humility. Yep, cultural seems very thrown in here without any other supporting statements. Just, oh, buzzword, I need to throw in cultural humility. Reinforce my goal to provide holistic patient care. Again, big buzzword, no other discussion here about holistic patient care. Again, as a physician, you're not going to have time to be looking at the independent living and looking at domestic violence and addressing all of these barriers. Right? Those are important things to understand, but you as the physician aren't directly addressing these. You are potentially referring these patients to other people that can help address these issues. So I'm a little confused as to what is going on here. With my OT background, I aspire to enrich patient care as a physician by viewing each person as a whole person, right? Again, just another way to say holistic with a unique story. So lots of buzzwords. I'm left really confused, still wondering why, what's going on. I don't understand why you want to be a physician. I see that you really liked helping Sue here. but I don't see why you need to be a physician to help more people like Sue. All right, what I put here. And we get down to the end. All right. So we're left with a conclusion that, hey, my eyes light up when I talk about my goals for the future. I'm not really sure what your goals are for the future other than holistic cultural humility, holistic patient care, cultural humility. Again, I'm still left with I really don't understand why you want to be a physician, other than you had one patient that you felt your OT background didn't give you enough scope of practice in. So I'm still left with a lot of questions. Taking the first steps on my journey truly excites and motivates me. This is a generic statement. We don't need that. It doesn't have to excite you. Great. I'm glad that it does, but this doesn't go, oh, this person thankfully is excited and motivated to be a physician, right? When I say it hyperbolically like that, I hope it just resonates with you all that these types of statements just they're not needed. They're super generic. They don't really tell me anything about you and why you want to be a physician. It's just there. Again, same thing with this next paragraph. I will treasure each experience, interaction, and conversation. Will you, though? Will you treasure each one? Because I've been through the process. I didn't treasure each one. There were lots of great moments. I remember some of my patients. There are some that I really remember, but there are some that I'm like, oh, yeah, I had that one. Not memorable. So again, it's not an impactful statement to help me understand why here. And for your conclusion, understand your aspirations for being a physician other than I'm going to cherish them all. Keeping the valuable lessons I learned with my OT lens in mind. So they're saying, hey, my OT training wasn't wasted. I'm dedicated to leadership. Again, this is a very cliche way of saying, oh, I need to be a physician so I can be a leader. Don't need that thrown in there. Conventional and complementary modes of care in my community. We haven't talked about complementary care at all, so I'm not really sure what's that is getting thrown in there, unless you're saying OT is a complementary care, which I guess I think complementary care more like traditional, like Eastern medicine type stuff, complementary care. But OT to me is, at least my opinion, not a complementary care. It's care. As the healthcare landscape becomes more integrated, okay, I'm confident that the life I have led and the experience I have had to this point will make me a better physician. So, student very much with this paragraph is like, hey, my training wasn't wasted. I'm going to use it as a physician. I don't really see the aspirations. I don't see the goals moving forward. I don't see a big kind of statement here of how this person wants to impact the world as a physician. And I'm still left with I still don't even know why you want to be a physician in the first place. For me, the goal of the personal statement is why do you want to be a doctor? This person coming from the OT world, I don't even understand why they became an OT to begin with. I saw that dad was a doctor, apparently, because dad had patients. That wasn't, I don't think it ever explicitly stated that dad was a physician. Maybe it was. But the statements were all around, ooh, the patients gave gifts. Ooh, the patients appreciated. Ooh, I had another patient, or Dr. Kim had a patient that also gave gifts of appreciation. And so there's a lot missing here, this emotional connection of what did you see? What did you experience? What did you feel? Why did you feel it? Why do you want more of that? And in taking care of patients and not just, I received gifts and that made me feel good. And again, I don't understand why you wanted to be an OT. I don't really understand why you're transitioning into medicine. I see that you helped a patient named Sue, who really wasn't a patient. It's from a workshop in a more kind of caseworker fashion, impacting their life and saying, hey, I really enjoyed doing this as an OT. Great, do more of that. Why do you need to be a physician to do that? So we get to the end, and I'm left with this personal statement needs a lot of work to move forward to continue to help the reader understand that this is something that the student wants to do for themselves, for the impact to patients, and not just for gratitude, and not just because of the pressures of the parent. If you are interested in PS or BS, go to psorbs.com/apply. If you would like your essays edited by a team of fantastic admissions experts that we have at medical school headquarters, go over to medicalschoolhq.net, click on advising services, and check out our essay editing. Have a great week.